God, I offer myself to you to build with me and to do with me as you will. Relieve me of the bondage of self that I may better do your will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I will help of your power, your love, and your way of life. May I do your will always. My name is Brenda. I'm an alcoholic. Happy to be here this morning. Welcome, everybody. I always like to keep a tab. We have 77 brave souls right here. So we're going to see how many we finish with. I'm glad to be here, Andy. Thank you for your patience and inviting me so many days ago and then waiting for me to be able to get here. I appreciate that your patience and most importantly, your friendship. I'm glad to be here. Before I say anything else, we've been having storms since about 6:30 this morning. So I just want to say two things. The topic we're going to talk about is hope. I know you're shocked. Those of you that know me, you're shocked. We're going to talk about hope. So we're going to talk about hope. And specifically, those of us that have it are going to share with those of us that don't. Okay, so that's the topic. And the other thing is we get cut off and I lose power is that the very best part of my talk was coming very next. It was going to start with the next thing I was going to say. So just keep those two things in mind. I'm pleased to look out here and see my friends, those who continue to be my teachers, my students, my lighthouses. When I am lost at sea, I find great comfort in our friendship. And I thank you for that. I don't read the chat, so if you put something there for me, I won't. I see Kendra Lynn, my friend Kendra Lynn, and she will throw my email address in the chat, and that's the best way to find me. Actually, that's the best way to find me if you have really positive, great things to have. If you do not have positive, great things, Andy will also put his email. Yep, on account of he invited me, so his email will be there also. Thanks, Andy. I have a nephew, and we had dinner one night, a bunch of my family, and he walked me out to the car. He's grown. He's, I don't know, 27, 25, somewhere on there. He walks me out to the car and he says, "Hey, I just wanted to tell you something." He says, "I know that I don't call you or that I don't like reach out and text you and stuff, but I wanted you to know that it's not because I don't love you or don't think of you. But the reason that I don't do that is because when I talk to you, everything I feel comes up to my throat and I want to cry." And so I said to him, I said, "I completely understand that. So why don't we just decide right now that I'll send you texts from time to time and you don't have to respond or any of that. And I will always know that you love me. That will never be a question I have." The relief that came over his face. And I share that with you because I've had several people in AA say to me, "Listen, I look for the flyers to see if you're sharing and then I don't go." They're like, "I don't go because you start talking and there's nowhere to hide. There's no way to not feel the way I feel. There's no way to say I can't see the truth from here. There's no way." And so I'm so happy to have all these new people on here to counteract the people that aren't coming. I'm kidding. Because it was a long search for me before I found somebody that told their story and it sounded like mine. That's the only part of the story alcoholics care about, the part of the story that sounds like theirs. And so before I begin, I'd just like to say I'm here as an act of service to Alcoholics Anonymous. But the other reason I'm here is because I have another nephew who reached out to me last week and said, I can't do this anymore. I started drinking again and I can't do it. I play guitar, and the reason he was calling me was to ask me that. He says to me, if something happens to me, will you sing at my funeral? See, this is why people don't want to come on. Oh God, we're to 81. He said, will you sing at my funeral? So I not only came on here this morning as a service to Alcoholics Anonymous, but all those folks that just introduced themselves as new, and all of those folks on here who are living in a dry drunk and the people around you are suffering as a result of that. I came on behalf of the people that loved you into this meeting. I came on behalf of your dads and your moms and your aunts, and especially on behalf of the children in your life. People who talk to me and share with me any part of what's going on in their life know that I will always side with the kids. And so if you're new, welcome. My physical nephews and nieces, my sons and daughters, that's what I call everyone. Why are we mincing words? Everyone belongs to me. I'm like old. I'm like 800. I know I look great, right? But like I've been here for a while and everyone belongs to me. And so I come on behalf of those who loved you to us. I have given myself permission to be imperfect and enough at the same time. I often need help to maintain a rational perspective. I reserve the right to cry, to make mistakes, to not have my answers. I've been sober for 33 years, and what matters to me about that time is what I'm doing with that time now. So, when I buy a new bed online or a new hair dryer or a new whatever, right? It comes with the manual that if you read it, you're like really well informed about how to use this product in its optimal way. I don't read the manual. I just kind of start pressing buttons and plug it in and see what happens. I've not died as a result of that. So it convinces me that that's the best way. But what happens is that I'll say to somebody, hey, I just got this new hair dryer and it's like this and it does that. And somebody will inevitably say one of two things. They're like, oh, I have that one. I'm like, isn't it great? Or they'll say, I've been wanting to get that. Let me know how it is. So the manual will tell me how the things I bought works. The big book and the 12 and 12 in Alcoholics Anonymous are the owner's manual to what I just purchased. And what I just purchased, when I put down a drink, I bought a new life. When I put down a drink, I bought a new relationship with God. When I put down a drink, I bought a place to belong in the world. I bought friends. I bought happiness and joy and life and grief and pain and goodness and God. That's what I got from setting down a drink. I thought they wanted me to not drink and live the life I had when I got here. I didn't get it for a minute that what they meant was work the steps and we'll give you a new life. Because apparently the other one had mold on it. Just as an aside, those of you taking notes, don't eat mold. I'm not saying nothing about people in AA. I'm just saying. So sponsorship, for are people who already had the product and they read the manual. And I said to them, look, how did you read the manual? They're like, oh, my sponsor had already read the manual. She already knew how. How did she know? Well, because her sponsor knew. That's what we're doing. That's what I'm doing. I'm just next in the line of the person that's read the manual. I started sponsoring people when I was 4 months. I didn't know. It saved my life because the little girl that came up behind me, I was 4 months sober, and I'm like, this chick asked me to sponsor her. My sponsor says, that's a fabulous idea. I'm like, did you hear me? This girl asked me to sponsor her. I have 4 months. I'm not even through all the steps yet. She goes, yeah, I know, but I'll help you. Let's go. Tell her yes. Well, I caught on because I was like all whizzing through 1 and 2 and 3 like it wasn't a problem. I got to 4 and I got stuck. One time I polished all the silver in my house to not have to write the 4th step. And then I ran into a problem. That little chick behind me, she got to the 4th step. And we read, and she's like, okay, well, what do I do? And I said, well, clearly you did not understand everything that chapter said. Go read that again. And then I'm on the phone with my sponsor. I'm like, hey, this chick is right behind me, and she wants to work this column. And I don't know what to do because I didn't work the column. And my sponsor said, well, I suggest you work the. Oh, I see what you did there. You understood that the only way I was moving forward was if I had somebody chasing me. I sponsored that woman for 10 years. She's still clean and sober today. Her daughter is clean and sober and a member of the fellowships. Because when you throw a rock into a brook, you don't have any idea how far the ripples of that are going to go. And so I just stand on the edge of the brook and toss rocks in. So here it is, right? So it helps to put furniture and stuff together if you like look at the directions. So the first thing they tell you in the directions, you're like, what the hell does this have to do with AA? And that's not a cuss word, that's a place, apparently. But the very first thing they tell you is all the pieces that should be in the packet. You should have how many of this, and you should have that, and you should have that. You know, like, hey, you should be open. You should try and be willing. You should try and be honest. Okay, so wait, but now I have all the pieces I need. Now what? And then it's step 1. They put a 1 by it, so I wouldn't be confused. And then there's a picture. If you did step 1 and it don't look like this, go back. So I do step 1 and I show it to my sponsor, and she's like, yeah, we could work with that. It doesn't look like, but we could work with it. And so by the time I get through, then I can look at the picture of it finished, look at what I'm looking at and go, holy, I was going to say hell again, but I didn't. I stopped myself from saying hell. So then I look at that thing that got I didn't get here because I had a language problem, according to Bobby. So anyway, I digress. So if I'm lucky, I put it together and I can use it. So if I put a bed frame together and put the mattress and do all that, and it's leaning like this, and I can't use it, I got to start again. Because based on what I know, mattresses aren't supposed to be at an angle like that. It's the same with sobriety. If I get certain paces down the street, down the road, down to the way of recovery, and I can't use my sobriety, something's wrong. So if you're lucky, you'll stay here long enough so that you'll start putting this sober stuff together, because I'm living in a sober house. I need sober furniture. I need to use the muscles I didn't use before I got here that caused pain to me and the people that love me. The muscles of discipline, the muscles of love, the muscles of creativity, the muscles of faith. I have not used those muscles. Instead of doing that, which is what life was going to require of me, I drank. We have, I teach by profession. I'm a teacher. Don't run. And we have the standardized test in Texas coming up on Wednesday. It's the way we decide who goes to heaven. I digress. So we have that on Wednesday. So I said to my children, I just want to share with you that this is a time that some of you are going to make a bad decision. I'm going to tell you what it's going to be. You're going to make a bad decision. You're going to fight. You're going to be using vaping, and you're going to make a bad decision, and they're going to suspend you, and you won't be here for the day of the test. I want you to know that that's called sabotage. I completely understand that you're afraid that you won't pass, but you have no chance of passing if you're not here. So please, let's find out. We already know what we get from quitting. So make good choices. Come here on Wednesday. Let's do this. It's a math test. I'm your math teacher. If you were not ready, you would know, because I would tell you, honey, baby, your mama said you a gift. Where's the receipt? I'm kidding. All children are precious. My sister will text me and she goes, how's your day going? I'm like, it was all right. And then the kids showed up. It was 15 minutes, but anyway. But it's like that with sponsees. It's like that with sponsees. It's like that with people. Listen to the folks who are new. Before I had to go tell my sponsor everything on 5, I decided to drink. And then I say, well, I drank because my mom died. I drank because it was the groundhog thing. Man, like that dude is wrong all the time. And I based my life force on that. And so I drank because of that, or like it was Tuesday and I can't do Tuesdays. And then they want to go back to the beginning on step 1. When I have people that come to me and say, can you sponsor me? I'm like, what step were you on with your previous sponsor? Because that's the step you went out on. What was the question? What was the question that you were not willing to stay for the answer? Because that's going to be the first question that's waiting for me when I come back. And sure enough, there were kids fighting in the hall. They're suspended. They won't be there for the test on Wednesday. What it'll cost them is suspension. What it'll also cost them is that they'll need to do 30 hours of summer school. And then they'll need to take the test at the end of summer by the time they have completely forgotten everything they learned. And then they fail that test. And for some of them, they'll have to start the year over again. And the more bad decisions they make, the heavier the consequences. And so it is with relapse. You know, my nephew's not here this morning. He's not on this call with me. But all these other babies are. Somebody got 34 days. Somebody got 4 minutes. All these babies, they're here. Listen to me if you're new. Somebody's going to tell you that they love you. Somebody's going to tell you that you belong, that your being here is precious and necessary. If somebody's going to say that to you, I want it to be us. I want it to be Alcoholics Anonymous. So people tell you, well, let go. But they don't tell you how. They're like, trust God. But then they don't tell you how. I mean, we have the manual, but we don't read manuals. Remember that? So we need a sponsor who's reading the manual and we can pretend like we're listening. So what I'm going to give you this morning, Jesus, we're doing very well with the time. Hydration, everyone, take a drink of coffee and water. Hey, so I'm going to tell you how. I'm going to tell you exactly how I do 3 things. I'm going to tell you how I outweigh a craving. I didn't know you could do that. Stop it. I didn't know that if I had a craving to drink or use that I could outweigh that. Because my mind would say, I need a drink, and my hand would go, here it is. There was nothing to interrupt that circuit. So I'm going to tell you what I did specifically to outweigh the craving. Then I'm going to tell you how exactly I started to act sober. Because people are like, you should be sober. Come on. And then don't tell me. And the last thing I'm going to share with you is how exactly I came to trust God. All right, so here I go. How to outweigh the craving. Number one, ask God for help. Number two, get up and move. Look, if I get a craving to drink, I'm like, oh, I wish somebody would help me. Really, Brenda? I wish you would get up and go move and go help somebody. Go be of service. Go mop. Go walk down the street, cuss at people. I don't know. Like, get up and move. Like, I gotta move. There's another fellowship that says move a muscle, change a thought. Move a muscle, change a thought. Move a muscle, change a thought. And so I ask God for help. Help me outweigh this craving. I get up to go do something else. I get up and go do something else. And it seems like that's like stupid. Like, how would that actually even work? But I ask God for help. I get up and move to go do something. And then I pay attention to the fact that the craving is gone. I don't care if that craving come at 3 p.m. or 3 a.m. By the way, that's when alcoholism will come and get me. Not anymore, not for a long time, but in early sobriety, alcoholism would come get me in the middle of the night because it knew that I would not call anybody. It knew that I would not reach out for help. So it would come and get me in the middle of the night. That's why it's important that I have my book right next to the bed. There were times when my craving would come in the middle of the night and I'd open a book to any page and read a paragraph and I was safe again. I felt safe again. I was safe the whole time, but I felt safe. So I would read something. There were times that I would read something and wait for a craving to pass. And then there were times that I used my book and beat the hell out of that idea. All the voices in my head, they have meetings at night. They don't meet during the day because I'm awake and paying attention. They will meet at night. I used to tell my sponsor about the voices in my head. She's like, good, you take them all to a meeting. One of them is bound to get sober. So they have meetings and then I wake up. I ain't even out of bed, man. Like, I just like barely woke up and the representative is right there. Excuse me, while you were sleeping, we had a meeting and these are the minutes. That pain in your knee, it's cancer. So you're going to die soon. Those people that at the A of A that tell you that they love you and you're important, yeah, they're not a hotbed of mental health. So you probably shouldn't be listening to them. And they're like, and lastly, no one loves you. So, I mean, there's that reason not to get up and leave your bed. Listen, what had to happen is that I had to stay sober long enough to tell the representative that showed up with the meeting minutes. I had to say, darling, give those to me for just a second. She would give me the meeting notes and I would just toss it. I had to stop listening to my ego. Those are the voices. I had to stop listening to my ego. Now I'm going to clean up the language significantly, but basically when those things would come to my mind, nobody loves you, nobody cares, you don't matter, da 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 da. When those things come to my mind, I turn around, I look at my ego and say, please sit down, you do not have enough information with which to participate. Please sit down, you do not have enough information with which to participate. Now that's a really cleaned up version from where I started. Okay, so that's how I weigh the craving. I ask for help, I move a muscle, change a thought, and then I pay attention to the fact that the craving is gone. Okay, number 2, how to act sober. 1, I ask for help. 2, I don't drink. It's hard to act sober if I'm drunk, though, for reals. So I ask for help. I don't drink. You will see me at AA. If I'm acting sober, you're going to see me at a meeting. And then you're going to see me using tools I didn't have when I got here. If I'm 33 years sober and you and I disagree about something and the only thing I know how to do is cuss you out in 2 languages and slam the door behind me, there's a problem. For me, anytime after year 5 that I'm slamming doors, cussing out people, and all that, there's a problem. I have had 5 years standing in the sunlight of the Spirit, or I haven't, and I still can only cuss you out, slam the door, and walk away. That's not about you. That's about me. After 5 years, and it took that long for me to just figure out that I was in AA. There was a newcomer at a meeting one time, and I'm like, man, I hadn't seen you for like 2 weeks. Where have you been? She's like, oh, I forgot I was in AA, but then when I remembered, I came back. Yes. So I asked for help. I don't drink. You'll see me at AA. I start using tools that I didn't have before. I'll stop slamming doors. I'll stop cussing people out. And I start to behave like somebody loves me. There's a guy that says, the way you do anything is the way you'll do everything. I'm like, first, I'm mad that you said that, sir. And 2, I don't really know what that means, but I know I'm mad. The way you do anything, Brenda, is the way you do everything. That means that if I'm in my kitchen and I'm unpacking something and something falls on the floor and I walk away from it, something important is going to fall on the floor of my life and I'm going to walk away from it. If I know that what I need to do in my life is ask for forgiveness and I don't, the way I do anything is the way I do everything. When I travel, I get back home. It's been on an all-day travel thing. I'm exhausted. Then there was a train, a plane, an automobile. All of that happened. And I get home, I don't know, 2, 3 in the morning. You know what I do when I get home? I unpack my bags. I put my clothes in the wash. I do laundry. I do those things because I am sober. Because I don't want mediocre sobriety. I don't want a middle of the road solution. See why people don't come yelling. I'm aware, people. I'm aware. But you know what? I needed a voice louder than my ego. I needed a voice louder than the voice of objection. Lastly, here the how-to, the process of how I came to trust God. The first thing I did was that I asked God for help. What? That's what? Wait a minute. You asked God to help you trust God. Yes. Like I'm about to say something right now that's going to mess it all up for everybody. So if you still want to participate in your character defects, if you still want to stay in the question and not move on to the solution, if you like, cover your ears, because the thing I'm about to say going to mess that all up. Here it is. Every single time I ask God for help, God helps me. 100% accuracy. Every time I ask God for help, God helps me. Now, at the beginning, when I would ask God for help, what I would hear in my head is, you know what? You don't deserve it. Why are you going to act like that and think you can come to me and ask me for anything? Come on, you're better than that. And until you improve the way you're thinking and behaving and presenting, I don't really want to hear anything from you. That was not God. What? There's another voice up there impersonating. One of my voices is a ventriloquist. So one day I turned around and I looked at that voice and said, if I could do that, I would have done that without you. If I could do that, if I could be caring and loving and open and willing and hopeful, if I could do that, I wouldn't have had to come to you. And right about that time, when I was as pissed as I could be about it, God walks in and goes, hey, what's going on? I'm like, I was just talking to you. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. I was taking a nap. Okay, so I'm awake now. What were you saying? Well, just saying thanks for all the help you give me. Every time I ask God for help, he helps me. Sandy Beach used to say to me, he said I could call him my friend. My friend Sandy Beach used to say, in times of, and then this happened, Sandy, and then this happened, and then this happened, he'd say, why don't we wait and see what God's going to do with that? I was in a meeting one time. I was in a meeting with the young people's group. I was living in Tampa where he was too. And I was sitting at the young people's meeting, and the speaker gets up to speak. And the woman who stood behind the podium and shared her story that night had memorized my story verbatim and stood at that podium and told it. The kids were furious. There was a row of kids in front of me. They're like, that's messed up. Well, I cleaned that up too. They're like, and I'm like, turn around. There's someone speaking. Do not be rude. So she literally went and told my whole story. And one of the kids turns around. They said, he says, well, they said you could be in AA to hear your story, and then you could go, bye. You know. So I went up to the woman after, and I introduced myself, and she's like, wait a minute, I think I've heard you speak. I said, I don't know. That was a riveting story. And I just wanted to thank you for the service that you gave this group. And come have some cookies. It's the best part of the meeting. And I spent the rest of the time that we were together telling the kids that all is well. She didn't hurt anybody. All's well. So I get out to the car and I call Sandy, because my older sister had one time said to me, the people in Alcoholics Anonymous are going to take everything from you. And when that woman stood up there and told my story, I heard my sister in my head. And I called Sandy, and I'm in tears. I'm in the parking lot in tears. And I said, Sandy, I was just at the meeting, and this lady told my story. My sister said that people in Alcoholics Anonymous were going to take everything from me, and she took my story. And Sandy said, why don't we wait and see what God's going to do with that? I wanted to come on here this morning and pour out the entire content of my heart. Right before I came on the meeting, I prayed and I said to God, please give the people in this meeting the thing they came for, the thing they needed. And I hope to God that you got that. The lesson the kids in the meeting had to learn wasn't a lesson taught to them by the woman who did the speaking. It was the lesson taught to them by the woman that did the quiet part. There's a line in the book that says, God does not make too hard of terms for those of us who seek him. God does not make too hard of terms for those of us that seek him. And I always add this line for me. If the terms are hard, it's only because they're mine. If the terms in my relationship with God are hard, it's only because they're mine. I told God something unimportant, and then I watched what he did with it. So the first thing I told God when I was trying to learn how to trust him was that my favorite color is purple, that I love fresh flowers. And nobody in AA came back. Thank you, Andy. Nobody in AA came back to me with that. I began there. I'm grateful for your time. I'm grateful for the way you love me. I'm grateful for the patience you extend me. And I'd like to close with the theologian, Dr. Seuss. You have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself in any direction you choose. God's peace be with you. Thank you.